makes the world go round. Start with a little ASMR for you today. Welcome, everybody, to Muscle Maven Radio. I'm your host, Ashleigh Van Houten, aka the Muscle Maven. And this is another solo episode. I'm going to try to keep it short but informative for you. And it's about a topic that comes up a lot in my work and in the larger fitness community. And so I thought it would be a good idea to just kind of address it as best I can in this format. I've also written a blog post. We're talking about building muscle and losing fat at the same time. Can you do it? Should you do it? How do you do it? And like I said, if you are interested in just reading it, you can go to my website, ashleighvanhouten.com, and the blog post is up there. But if you'd rather just kind of hear me attempt to ramble on here a little bit, and I want to expand on some points, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Now, as with anything, literally, whether it's fitness related or otherwise, there's a lot of room for individuality here. And so it's usually a red flag right off the bat if someone tells you, yes, 100% you can, no problem, or no, you absolutely cannot, don't even bother. Because some people can, some people can't. There are more efficient ways to do it, certainly, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. But you just kind of have to take these things with a grain of salt and realize that most of us do fall into this middle category. There's some outliers on either end who absolutely will never be able to accomplish this on any level, and people who can do it pretty easily. But I think that the question that we really want to ask is, what's the healthiest and really most efficient way to do this? Because we are talking about two separate goals that can work together. Sometimes they don't, but they're two separate goals that people often want to have simultaneously. You want to grow muscle, you want to be stronger, you want to look good, and so you want to lose fat as well. But we do know that while these things can kind of happen in tandem and they can kind of correlate and relate to each other on some levels, in a lot of cases, they require behaviors that can be at odds with one another. So I'm going to kind of dive into this a little bit. But first, I did want to kind of mention some instances where individuals may be able to gain significant muscle and lose significant fat at the same time, because it is possible, just not super common. And these outliers tend to be from sort of opposite ends of the spectrum. They're either professional physique athletes, so we're talking bodybuilders, bikini competitors, people like that, whose entire job is to do those two things. It's to build muscle and lose fat, often at the same time. And folks who have every resource available to them in terms of unlimited training time, supplements, nutritionists, coaches who are helping them achieve this. And then also realistically, often using performance enhancing drugs, steroids, fat burners, things that maybe non-professional athletes don't want to use, don't have access to, maybe shouldn't use for their health, their overall kind of sustainable health. It's not something that's really realistic or desirable for a lot of people. So that's one group of individuals who may be able to accomplish these dual goals at the same time. On the other end, we have beginners, beginner fitness folks who are just getting into the gym, who have never strength trained before or have, never really done anything physically active, tend to be really sedentary people, and also people who have a lot of body fat to lose. Because in this case, you're going to have, when you do enter into a nutrition plan and a fitness plan, an exercise routine, your goals initially are going to come pretty quickly in terms of fat loss and muscle gain, because you're new. And so all of these things are happening for the first time. You're kind of shocking your body and it's happening. And if you do have a fair bit of body fat to lose, you can make use of those stores without eating a bunch of food, without going into a major caloric surplus. You can use what you already have available to you, put it to work in the gym. So you're going to see those body fat goals, and you're also going to see some strength goals. So you can see how both ends of the spectrum here can accomplish those two goals at the same time. But usually it's for a relatively short period of time. It's not going to work forever. And even physique athletes, you'll notice if you've done it yourself or you know anybody who does, they do still tend to do this in a cyclical fashion, meaning they'll have off seasons where they eat a lot more, maybe put on some body fat and then diet back down. So even they really aren't doing both of these things simultaneously a lot. But what they maybe can do is minimize muscle loss while they're doing these fat loss cycles. So that's kind of right off the bat. For the vast majority of the rest of us who are not professional physique competitors, who are not beginners, who maybe don't have a ton of fat to lose, but you want to have some abs for the beach, if you have a specific goal, you want to get a little leaner than you already are. I think I understand why these two goals often come together because it makes sense, right? You're gaining muscle, you want to look good, and then you want to lose enough body fat that you can see all the gains that you work so hard for. And I understand that it's human nature that we want to achieve our goals immediately. So it makes sense that if you want to do both of these things, let's do them together, get it done quicker, right? But in my experience, it's often more efficient, quicker, and healthier to not try to do them at the same time, to put them in a progressive sort of plan so that you're focusing completely all of your efforts and all of your work and behaviors on one goal, and then you switch to the other goal. And then that cycle is going to end and you're going to have achieved both things in a better way than if you were trying to put 100% of your effort into two things, because you can't. That's not really how human beings work. It's better to focus completely on one thing, especially when those two goals can have some opposing, conflicting behaviors that need to happen. And so I do want to say, too, that when we're talking about building muscle and losing fat, they aren't necessarily completely parallel, that they never overlap and they never touch. They can. Anybody who knows, I got some people who reached out to me on social media who commented accurately, well, don't you lose fat when you gain muscle because the muscle is helping you lose fat? And yes, that is true. Muscle has a thermogenic effect. Having more skeletal muscle on your body is going to help you burn more calories at rest. And it's going to make your body kind of more efficient. But that is relatively negligible. I mean, it matters, but it's not like you're going to gain a pound or two of muscle and you're suddenly going to be able to eat just infinite food because you've got this new muscle on your body. Again, that's not really, unfortunately, how it works. The act of building muscle, burning calories in the gym, building muscle on your body, yes, that is going to have a fat loss effect for you, but not so much that you can do both things at the exact same time and it will be the most efficient use of your time. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I do think that it's more efficient to focus, generally speaking, for most people, on the muscle building phase first, and then move into a fat loss phase. And the reason why, again, comes down to just kind of common sense and how our bodies work and how calories work. And no, this is not a podcast saying calories are the only thing that matters. If you've listened to me before, you know that that's not the case. However, they do matter. Quality of food matters, amount of food matters, calories expended versus taken in does matter. And especially when we're talking about the tweaks required to lose body fat when you are not very overweight, when you are within a range of normal, healthy body fat, but you want to just dial it in that much more, you do need to really focus on things like calorie and food quality, because your body, generally speaking, and especially for women, we're usually pretty comfortable with the amount of body fat, the set point that our body has. And that's why it stays that way unless we work really hard at it. So that's the reason why I recommend focusing on muscle building, then focusing on fat loss. To build muscle on your body, you have to fuel it. You have to fuel your body in a way that allows you to work very hard in the gym and also create new tissue. Your fat isn't being turned into muscle. Your muscle isn't like hiding and then being brought out when you work hard at the gym. You are literally tearing down muscle fibers and rebuilding them bigger and stronger. You are creating new tissue. That requires a lot of work and a good amount of food. And you need to fuel yourself so that you can do that lots of work in the gym. And you need to eat enough protein. You need to eat enough calories that you are able to recover, able to work hard in the gym and create that new tissue. For most people, that means a caloric surplus. So that means more calories than you need to survive every day. And I can provide some resources, maybe in the show notes, about how you can determine your base calorie requirements, where you can kind of put in some information. It'll tell you, generally speaking, how many calories you need to like function in the day. If you want to build muscle on top of that, you're going to need to add more calories, more food to that basic baseline. And again, for women and some men, people don't love that idea, because they think, okay, that means I'm just going to get fat. I'm going to gain all this fat and look gross. I'm going to feel gross. That's not the case. Again, it doesn't have to be black and white. You don't have to put on a ton of fat to gain muscle, and you don't have to lose a ton of your muscle gains to lose fat if you are doing it in an intelligent, consistent, sustainable way. If you want to do it in 2 weeks, yeah, you're going to have some problems. If you want to do it in a few months, you can do it more intelligently in a way that your body's going to adapt to and be okay with. So you are going to want to be in a caloric surplus to gain muscle. This could be an extra meal of whole healthy foods. Doesn't mean you have to add a bunch of junk. It could mean a small surplus. It could mean a larger surplus, depending on what you're trying to do. And that's something you need to work with a coach on. You need to experiment with your body. But you cannot expect to grow new tissue on your body if you are eating at or less than what it takes to just get through the day. It's just science. That's just how it works. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you maybe need to spend some time thinking about why that makes you uncomfortable. And sometimes just kind of jumping in and trying it. And this is what I've done with clients before who have been uncomfortable with eating more. I'm like, well, you've tried it your way and maybe it didn't work so well. Try it my way for a few months. And if you don't like it, you can always go back to what you've done before. You can try something different, but you might be surprised when you eat a little bit more real food that you don't automatically gain 20 pounds and get fat and don't fit into your clothes. You might just find that you sleep a little better, that you are performing better in the gym, and that maybe your body composition is changing a little bit. So there's that. Okay. And then, of course, conversely, on the other side, to lose body fat, you generally can't do that in a caloric surplus, unless, again, you're maybe a professional bodybuilder and you're taking a bunch of stuff that helps you do that. Most of us are not there, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for the vast majority of people. So the key here, when you're doing a caloric deficit, is to do it in a gradual way. You don't want to go from, if you normally eat 2,500 calories and you're like, well, I want to get fit, I want to get lean looking, and I want to do it quick. Let's try 1,600 calories. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to feel good. It's going to mess with almost every aspect of your life, including sleep, recovery, mood, possibly even hormones. I mean, it's going to change a lot of things. You would be surprised at how much of a difference you'll experience in your day-to-day life with a small caloric deficit or surplus. So we're talking like maybe 15, 20%, maybe less, maybe more. Again, you got to work specifically one-on-one with a professional to kind of determine this. But I'm not talking about you suddenly cut a meal out or, drastically reduce. You cut all your carbs because it's time to lean out. Gradually. If you do it gradually, your body will accept it better. It will adjust better. You'll still have the energy needed to go and keep those gains that you worked so hard for in the gym. Because the other side note, good news, is that generally it's a lot easier and takes a lot less work than people think to maintain your gains than to get them in the first place. And again, I'm talking about sort of average fit people, not like crazy heavyweight bodybuilders or anything. But I learned firsthand during the pandemic and during my pregnancy, where I was a little bit worried, like, yeah, I'm going to probably lose a lot of muscle. And to be honest, I did lose some muscle because I was out of my normal routine for a year and a half, maybe. But if we're talking a couple months of like a lean down fat loss cycle, you're not going to lose muscle unless you are drastically reducing your calories. Your energy suffers, you're not really working out in the gym, and your body is catabolizing your muscle because you're eating so little. So you want to do this in a gradual way. And this can be problematic maybe for men who are used to eating a lot and fueling themselves, and they don't want to eat less food. It can also potentially be triggering for a lot of people who have an uneasy relationship with food and who are worried about what it feels like to eat less or restrict. And that is why I urge people to do it in a gradual way. You can really do it in sneaky ways too, like instead of skipping a meal or instead of fasting for a long time, which may be stressful, you can really just kind of cut little pieces out of the meals you're already eating. So just a little bit less carbs on the side, just a little bit less fat, like maybe don't pour that olive oil on your vegetables quite as liberally, like little things. And you can track that, and it can help you a lot if tracking does not stress you out. If you are trying to lose fat in this way, I would recommend tracking of some form because it just helps you really know what you're doing. I find a lot of people can over or underestimate their food intake pretty drastically if they're not paying attention to it. And again, this is a temporary thing. I don't think anybody should be tracking their food all the time. I think that if this is what your goal is and you can do it in a healthy way that is not anxiety inducing for you, you should, because it's information gathering, right? It's helpful. So that's it. I mean, I think that that's really ultimately what it comes down to is we're talking about building muscle. You have to fuel, you have to have energy, and you have to work really damn hard in the gym. And for fat loss, you need to prioritize what you're eating, the type of food, how much, and recovery and maintenance. So if you can focus on one first, really bust your ass and eat good food for 12 weeks, 3-month cycle, maybe 6 months, depending on how hard you want to work, and then take some time off and do maybe a 12-week lean down cycle. And maybe you can be happy and maintain there for a while. Maybe you want to go back up, and you can do this for as long as you want, if it's healthy and if your body is responding well to it. I mean, I've kind of done that for years on end. When I was bodybuilding and I was only competing once a year, I'd have one sort of 3-month period where I was dieting pretty intensely. And the rest of the time I was trying to, in a healthy way, build muscle and kind of live my life and enjoy eating. And so that is something that you can really experiment with in a healthy way. I think you just have to focus on what you really want to achieve. Because if you are trying to do too many things at once, you may end up achieving nothing. And that would suck and would be a waste of your time and energy. So that's kind of it. It's really just sort of the tip of the iceberg, but I hope that it helped you illuminate some things and maybe help you give yourself a break a little bit, that you don't have to do everything at once. And you don't have to, when you're trying to go in the gym and work on your gains, be so obsessed with what you're putting in your mouth. Or on the flip side, when you are kind of leaning out, you have to be so worried that you're going to lose all your muscle in a couple of weeks because you're not eating as much. There's so much room for nuance and bio-individuality in there. Just be willing to experiment, be patient, be consistent, and respect the process, respect your body. Remember what you're doing it for. Don't ever let it impact your health because it's not worth it. Having abs, having a bit bigger biceps, neither one is worth your mental and physical health. If you do have more questions about this, like I said, you can go to my website. I do have a coaching program that I have developed with my friend, Rachel Gregory, who's also a coach. It's specifically for women. It's called Muscle Science for Women. And we will be doing another intake in January 2022. So it's coming up soon. We did an initial launch in the summer of 2021, and it was really successful and really fun. And I think people really got a lot out of it. So we're doing another one. We'll keep doing it as long as people keep signing up. And that is a 12-week curriculum that covers everything. We give you a training program. We give you nutrition, pretty comprehensive nutrition information. And we also cover everything you can think of lifestyle wise, from sleep to stress management to cultural implications of how we think we should look and feel, science, physiological implications, hormonal stuff, all of that. So if you really want to dive into this with us, I would encourage you to sign up for that. I'll put that link in the show notes as well, so you can learn more. And for the rest of you, just, do your research. Feel free to send me questions on Instagram. You can reach me at The Muscle Maven. check out my website, Ashleigh Van Houten. Send me a message, ask me questions, talk to me. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want me to dive into this more with someone else, another professional on the podcast, because it's all about conversation. And there's always more for me to learn and for everybody else. So that's it. I hope that wasn't too much of a ramble. I hope that was helpful. In summary, building muscle will help you lose fat. You can still work hard on your gains, even if you're trying to lean out. You can do both in a sustainable, healthy way, but focusing on one over the other is going to get you there faster and in a healthier manner. So I encourage you to explore that. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to my show sponsor. I don't know if you saw my awesome sweater, Bubs Naturals. Love these guys. They make MCT and collagen that I use every day and I've used for years. They're a fantastic, transparent company that gives a large portion, 10%, I believe, of their earnings to charity, veteran-supported charity, which I really appreciate. And if you have any aches, pains, issues, gut health things, you want to be using collagen, I highly recommend it. I've been crushing it post birth for a number of reasons, and it's been helping me. Skin health, nails, hair, all that good stuff. Check them out, bubsnaturals.com. My code is MM20. You get 20% off anything you try. If you have any questions about their products, reach out to me and I'll get the information to you. But I love those guys and they've been a great supporter to me. So go check them out and maybe, you can support them too because they're great. All right, that's it. I'm getting off here. I've been talking to myself too long. I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great week and I'll catch you next Tuesday.